and thank you for joining me for this yoga session. We'll be taking a moment just to get comfortable. Draw the flesh out from the sit bones, reach the sit bones back, and then tilt the pelvis forward, making sure you feel grounded and secure. And then from the waist, floating up through the ribs, through the chest, through the collarbones, and then broaden through the shoulder girdle, just expanding as if you were on the swim team, just feeling that expansion through the shoulder girdle. And then bringing not your head, but the base of your throat back slightly, lengthen up through the back of the neck and lift through the chest at the same time. Firm up the abdomen ever so slightly, but without interfering with the breath. Should still be breathing diaphragmatically. And then in this position, close your eyes without squeezing the eyelids shut. Then turn your attention to the breath. Notice how your body is breathing on its own, and then very gently see if you can smooth out the inhale and the exhale, smooth out the transition between the breath, making it more wave-like, a sense of floating at the top before the breath falls away, floating at the bottom, not holding though, just floating. And then as you become comfortable, slow the breath down just enough to make it interesting. Not so much that it requires effort to maintain. As you're practicing this, begin relaxing your face, your jaws, your lips, your tongue, your mouth. The fingers, the hands, the arms, and the shoulders. As you continue with your breath, see if you can improve your posture ever so slightly, lifting through the chest, lengthening through the back of the neck, drawing the base of the throat back, expanding through the shoulders, and then let go of 50% of the effort, or 70% or 80% of the effort, softening without collapsing. How much of that effort can you let go of without feeling your body sag? Take a few more breaths, and then opening into a twist, leading with the right shoulder blade, lift, draw the right shoulder blade around and down, lift the chest forward and up, cross the left hand over the opposite knee. Lift, expand, and rotate. And then deepening the breath into a complete breath. Many variations on a complete breath. What they all share in common is the chest is the last area to breathe into. You finish the inhale with the chest and shoulders. Notice if anything has loosened up a little bit, and if it has, turn a little deeper into the twist, take another breath or two, and then coming back to center. And then leading with the left shoulder blade, lift, draw the shoulder blade around. And as you take your shoulder blade back and down, take the chest forward and up. Cross the right hand over the left knee. Lift, expand, and rotate. Again, practicing with a complete breath. If you feel anything releasing and opening, turn a little deeper. A couple more deep, complete breaths. Coming back to center, circling with the ribs. And reversing directions. And rolling out the shoulders. Coming into a side stretch. Take the right fingertips to the ground. Float the left arm. Chest forward and up. Shoulder, the left shoulder back. Flare the ribs. And then only leaning out just enough that you can pick up a stretch and still lengthen and expand. Don't collapse to lean in. Keep lifting up and out of the pose. Try to bring your mind into that left shoulder blade, taking the chest forward and up, and just the left shoulder blade back and down. Take a breath or two. Coming back to center, switching sides. Bringing the left fingertips to the ground, float the right arm. Lift, broaden, expand, flare the ribs. Walk the left hand away just enough that you can find a stretch here. And then breathing into that. Taking that right shoulder blade back, the chest forward and up. Couple more breaths. Coming back to center. Circling. Reversing. Rolling out the shoulders. Coming into Dandasana. Staff pose. The legs are extended. If you have tight hamstrings, this is going to cause you to start rounding in the low back, and that's not good. So if you need to, bend your knees so that you can really roll up onto the tops of the sit bones, and so that your lumbar vertebra, your sacrum and your lumbar, start vertical as opposed to coming back at an angle. And then your hands can rest either side. Those of you whose hamstrings permit you to straighten the legs can do so. Now we want to work in this pose. So reach back and down through the sit bones. Bring the sternum forward and up. Roll the shoulders back and down. Flex through the heels, spread the toes. And then 3 or 4 breaths leaning in. Embracing the effort rather than retreating from it. Couple more breaths. And then windshield wipers, roll the feet side to side, and then bounce and straighten the legs. We'll bring the right heel in. And then we want to line up the sacrum with the left leg. So move your right foot to the right, slide your left leg around in front of you, and then lift, extend, and looking for a healthy stretch. Again, if you feel anything in the back of the knee, this area right through here, that's not good. So you'll bend your knee a little bit to make sure the stretch stays in the belly of the muscle. Lengthening and extending. You can grab your knee, your calf, your foot, wherever you're comfortable. On the inhale, try to lengthen the front. This line from the pubic bone to the sternum, try to lengthen that line as you breathe in. And on the exhale, try to lean into a gentle, pleasant, healthy sensation in the back of the legs. Couple more breaths. Switch sides. Straighten the right leg, bring the left heel in. Move the left foot to the left, swing the right leg in front of you. Lift, extend, and then leaning out over that leg. Again, bending the knee if you need to. And then breathing into the stretch. Lifting, lengthening as you breathe in. Emphasize leaning into the stretch as you breathe out, creating a slight undulation in intensity. Take a breath or two. Coming back upright. Extend the left leg. And now work with a quadricep stretch. Roll your weight to the left. Bring the right foot back. Bring the heel in close to your hip. Toes point straight back. Spread the toes. Now the target area is going to be the quadricep area. If you start to feel anything, the sensation intensifying and moving down closer into the knee, that's not good. That's you're beginning to strain the tendons there and ligaments, so back off a little bit. If you feel the sensation in the belly of the muscle, try to adjust so you spread out the sensation over a larger surface area. And then if this becomes a little bit too easy, you can work your way down onto your left elbow. If that starts to get a little bit boring and you need more stretch and it feels pleasant and healthy, you can work your way down onto your shoulder. And if that becomes too easy, you can lay flat. To release, you're going to let that hip come up a little bit. The right hip comes up and you roll a little to the left. Enough that you can release the leg and then come back to Dandasana. Take a moment to work. Then shift your weight over to the right. Bring the left foot back. Again, bring the heel in close to the hip. If your foot is sensitive and the pressure bothers it, roll up your blanket, put it underneath your instep to take some of the weight off. If it feels okay, spread the toes. Once again, looking for a healthy, pleasant stretch in the belly of the muscle. If you already have a stretch, consider coming up a little bit to release it. And if you don't feel any stretch, consider working your way back to your left elbow or to your right elbow. If that becomes easy, come down to the right shoulder or lay flat. To release, roll your hips a little to the right. and then release the left leg. Hug both knees into your chest, rock side to side. And then roll up onto your hands and knees for cat-cow. Start each new movement with the tailbone. Lift the tailbone, open the belly, open the chest, look up, finish breathing in. Tuck the tailbone round low back, mid back, upper back. Tuck the chin as you finish breathing out. Moving with your own rhythm of breath. And improvising. Try several variations with your hands in new positions. Three or four breaths to finish. Coming back to center. Tuck your toes under. Walk your hands in close to the knees. Lift the knees, walking your hands in, and either place your hands on your thighs, coming up a little higher, taking the weight off your low back, and bending the knees a little bit. And if your low back and your legs are healthy enough and it feels good, you can straighten the legs part way and then hang into a deeper stretch if you prefer. Bend the left knee a little more, stretch the right leg. Bend the right knee a little more, stretch the left, go side to side. Take a few breaths here. And then come back to center.
And then when you're ready, roll back up to standing, coming to the front of your mat for a 12-step sun salutation. On the inhale, sweep overhead, swan dive on the exhale. Right foot back into a deep lunge, hold your breath in plank. Exhale as you press down to the floor, inhale as you draw through into cobra. Tuck the toes under, press your hips up and back into downward facing dog, and hold here for 2 or 3 breaths, just feeling your way in the pose. Rolling out the shoulders, drawing the chest through, and then stepping the right foot up for a big lunge on the inhale. Step the left foot up on the exhale. Overhead stretch as you breathe in and back to center. Second side. Sweep up on the inhale, swan dive on the exhale. Leading with the left foot, stepping back into a deep lunge. Hold the breath in plank, keeping the elbows tucked in, leading down through the chest, drawing through into cobra on the inhalation. Reaching the hips back into downward facing dog. Take a breath or 2 here. Working the pose a little more strongly this time. Leading with the left foot. On an inhalation, step through for a deep lunge. On the exhale, place the right foot alongside. Overhead stretch on the inhale. And coming back to center. Trikonasana, triangle pose, stepping your feet wide. And we'll be turning the left foot out at 90 degrees. Turn the right foot in slightly, shift your hips to the left, tilt the pelvis. Lengthen through the left side of the rib cage. Come into a gentle position and then breathing. Looking for steadiness. If it feels good, you can work your way a little deeper. 3 or 4 more smooth, steady, deliberate breaths. And then, when you're ready, switch sides. Turn the right foot out, turn the left foot in. Shift your hips to the left, tilt the pelvis, lengthen the right side of the rib cage. Start with a shallow expression of the pose. Take a breath or two, and then depending how it feels, you might consider working your way a little deeper into the stretch. Three or 4 more breaths on the second side. And then keeping the feet wide, turning the feet pigeon-toed and hanging into a forward bend. Take a few moments here to play. Sway left or right, bend one knee or the other, shift your hips. Just exploring a variety of stretches available to you from this position. Then, stepping your feet together and rolling back up to standing. We'll work next with a balance pose. Any pose is fine. If you aren't sure, tree pose is a good standby. Spread the toes on the right foot wide, shift your weight to the right, and either keep your big toe on the floor or bring the heel to the ankle or bring the heel up to the groin. Float your arms out horizontal for extra balance, or extend overhead if you're feeling secure in the pose. Now, with an exhale, steady yourself. Try not to grip or tense up, instead relax into your balance. A descending heaviness and relaxation through the feet into the earth. Take a breath or two, and then float the arms out, stepping down, and then spreading the toes on the left foot. Shift your weight to the left and lifting the right foot either to the ankle or bringing the heel up to the groin. Float the arms horizontal or overhead. Turn your attention to breathing and relaxing. Take a breath or two. When you're ready, releasing smoothly back down to 2 feet and then coming into a forward bend. And then releasing back up to standing. Virabhadrasana 2. Step your feet wide. Turn the left foot out, right foot in. Lunging by bending the left knee. Keep your weight centered, shoulders directly above the hips. The back leg is strong. The breath smooth, slow, and steady. If this is too easy, widen your stance and then lunge a little deeper. Make sure that your left knee is directly above the heel. Take a breath or two and then switch sides. Turn your right foot out 90 degrees. Turn the left foot in slightly. Bend the right knee. Try to keep some of the weight in that left hip socket, keeping your shoulders directly above the hips. Try not to lean out over the right leg. Float the arms, drop the shoulders, open the heart. On the inhale, focus on strengthening the legs, working the legs more strongly. On the exhale, soften the face, the jaws, the lips, the tongue, the shoulders. A couple more breaths on the second side. And then forward bend, keeping the feet wide. Leaning into the stretch a little more deeply as the legs warm up. And then stepping the feet together, rolling back up to standing. Next, half moon. If you feel unsteady with half moon, you can do it against the wall or close to a table or something that you can use to steady yourself. Turn the left foot out. Bend the left knee. Bring the left hand to the floor, touch with the fingertips, shift your weight back into the heel, float the back leg off the ground, open the hips, open the chest, open the shoulders. Try not to lean on the left hand or the fingers, keeping the weight in the heel. When you're ready, come back to a forward bend, roll up to standing and crossing to the second side. Turn the right foot out, bend the right knee, touch the floor with your fingertips, float the back leg, and then lifting the left fingertips. Keep looking at the ground as you open the hips and then begin to open up through the chest and through the shoulders. Keeping your weight in the heel instead of in the fingertips. Take a breath or two. And then bringing your foot to the floor, relaxing into a forward bend. And then coming down to the floor, we'll be working next with a cat-cow, just to release tension, realign the vertebra, and then with the back roll.
Start with your blanket folded long and thin, and at one edge begin rolling down the length of the blanket. Try to keep it tight as you're rolling. If it gets intense, unroll the blanket. If it's too easy, roll it up a little bit bigger. Start with the blanket underneath your shoulders. Arms extended. If your neck feels awkward, you can support it with your hands. If your shoulders are bothering you, you can bend the elbows or cross your arms. If you can't get comfortable, unroll the blanket enough that you can. Every few breaths, lift the hips, push yourself across the roller, set the hips down again. In each new position, breathe and relax. If you finish a little early, go back and start over with the roller in the upper back. If you're moving more slowly, take your time. Go for a couple more minutes. When you're finished, lift the hips, remove the roller, set the hips down. Bridge pose, feet hip width. You can either grab your ankles or you can interlace your fingers under you as your hips start to lift off the ground. Start by pressing the kidneys down. Lift the pelvic floor, firm the abdomen, and then lifting the tailbone first, so your pelvis tips and then lifts up, keeping the low back lengthened as you begin to come up. Stop at any point, just lifting a few inches, or if you prefer, continue coming up into a little steeper, fuller expression. Three or four breaths. When you're ready, come down one vertebra at a time. Try to keep your hips off the ground until after you touch the small of your back to the floor. Draw one knee into your chest and then pull the other knee in. Rock side to side. Next, we'll work with Cobra, coming onto your stomach. Starting with moving your rib cage forward a little bit and set it down. Hands behind the shoulders, shrug the shoulders, roll the shoulders, and then lifting not from the tip of the crown of the head, but from the base of the neck. Reach the chest forward, roll the shoulders back. Use your back muscles so you aren't using your hands as much. Three or four breaths. Downward facing dog. Tuck the toes under, lift the knees, draw your chest through towards your feet, spiral the arms. Take a breath or two. Come back for Cobra. This time a Sphinx variation. Elbows slightly forward of the shoulders. Press the tops of the feet down. Reach the chest forward. Take your left hand over towards the right elbow. And then place your right hand on the floor under your shoulder And then just twisting slightly. And then bending the right knee a little out to the side. And perhaps twisting a little more. Easing up on the twist, straighten the right leg, and then very carefully bring the left knee out to the side. And then with your right hand, if it feels safe, push back into the twist a little bit. And easing up on the twist, straightening the left leg. Coming back to Sphinx. Take your right hand over to the left elbow. Place your left hand under the shoulder. Twist a little. Opening through the left shoulder. Take your left knee out to the side, and if it feels okay, turn a little bit further. Ease up on the twist, straighten the left leg. Then bring the right knee out to the side, and with your left arm, see if it feels safe to push back into the twist. Take a breath or two. Easing up. Coming back to Sphinx and then Crocodile. Cross your arms, keeping your arms a little forward from your shoulders. Spread your feet wide, drop the heels towards each other, and then let the back of the neck release. Adjust the position of your elbows so that your lowest two floating ribs are pressed firmly into the floor, but the rest of the rib cage is lifted off the ground. Then breathe down into the lower belly, pelvic floor, and the small of your back. Use this position to practice breath. The resistance of the floor to the breath as you breathe in helps you to become more conscious of the breath. Three or four more breaths. Downward facing dog. This will be our last work for the class. If you get tired, come down and rest, and then when you get a second wind, come back up and work a little more. Pay attention to the legs. Reach the heels, the back of the heels down, lift the arches, spread the toes, lift the shins, lift the kneecaps, lift the quadriceps, lift the tailbone, and root through the heel. If you have trouble with that, do it one leg at a time. When you take it into muscle memory, try to do both legs at the same time. Then turn your attention to the arms, hands shoulder width or an inch wider. Middle finger pointing straight ahead. Root down through the knuckle of the index finger, and then try to turn the hollow of the elbows to point forward slightly. Try to broaden the upper back. Take your chest towards your feet, float your shoulder blades away from your feet. And then try to do the legs and the arms and shoulders and chest at the same time. When you're ready, bring your right knee forward. Slide the left leg back. You can come to your elbows. You can shift a little left or right. You can reposition the back leg until you find a position that you can relax into. Stretch the exhale slightly. Use that long exhale to help relax more fully. Looking for a healthy stretch in the outer thigh, hips, buttocks, on the front leg, without any strain in the knee joint. Five or 10 breaths. Downward facing dog. 2 or 3 breaths. And the left knee coming through, sliding the right leg back. You can either stay on your hands or come down onto your elbows or walk the arms wide and settle down into the chest. Start with a gentle stretch. Wait until the body starts to relax. If it doesn't, back off further. If it does, begin to work your way a little deeper. Stretching the exhale into a sigh. 5 or 10 breaths. Come onto your back. Now coming onto a spinal twist. Bring the right knee to your chest. Roll your legs to the left. Turn your upper body to the right. Any variation is fine. Breathing into this with a complete breath. 2 or 3 breaths. And switching sides. Bring the left knee into your chest. Roll your legs to the right. Turn your upper body back to the left. Two or three breaths. When you're finished, hug both knees in, rock side to side. Take a moment to get comfortable for Shavasana. Knees bent, or if you prefer, straight. Spread the feet apart, hip width or a little wider. Hands 6 or 8 inches from the hips, palms up, shoulder blades drawn together, back of the neck lengthening.
Beginning with progressive relaxation. Bring your attention to the breath, feeling the abdomen expand as you breathe in, and with each exhale, softening, relaxing, allowing a sense of heaviness to permeate the body, especially the face, the jaws, the lips, the tongue, the mouth, and the eyes. Stretching the exhale into a sigh. Relaxing fingers, hands, arms, and shoulders. The feet, the ankles, the calves, the knees, the thighs. Loosening the hips, relaxing the buttocks. Feeling the belly rise and fall, allowing the breath gradually, softly to slow down and for the body to fall away. The low back, the belly, the kidneys, the ribs, the chest, the shoulders, the back of the neck, and soften the throat. Relaxing the jaws, the lips, the tongue, the mouth. Feeling the cheeks hang from the cheekbones, sagging under the weight of gravity. And especially the eyes softening, releasing, letting the eyeballs melt into the back of your head. The eyelids, the eyebrows, the forehead. The temples grow soft and hollow. And relaxing the scalp and the crown. Bring your attention to the breath, rising and falling. Imagine yourself floating in the ocean, being lifted up on a wave as you breathe in, sinking back into the ocean as you breathe out.
Slowly stretching, yawning, arching, twisting. And rolling to one side, coming up to a comfortable seated position. Take a moment to get situated. We'll sit for just a couple minutes in meditation. If your mind wanders, come back to the breath. coming back to your breath, coming back to your body, opening your eyes. I'd like to thank you for joining me for this practice. I hope you're doing well, and I look forward to being able to practice in person with you again soon. I hope you have a wonderful week and weekend. Bringing your hands together over the heart. Namaste.